to my studio. I'm Susan Giannantonio. You know, if you look at my name, it's spelled Giannantonio. So it's John, it's the Italian spelling of John, Antonio. It scares people to look at my name because it has so many letters that people go, ah! So I just thought maybe I would mention that it's pronounced John Antonio. Pretty easy when you think about it. But anyway, sorry to scare you if it scares you away. Today, I want to talk to you about the fact that I have been gallivanting. My friend Pam and I traveled about 3 hours or so from here. We both live in Houston, and we traveled to New Braunfels, Texas, where we took a workshop with Betty Franks. Now, Betty is somebody that so many of you, I'm sure, have painted along with here on YouTube. And she's a wonderful painter and a very generous soul. And she is, in fact, just as lovely in person as she is on her YouTube videos, which is no surprise. But in preparation for her workshop, she suggested that we include in our supplies mixed media paper, and I hadn't really ever painted on mixed media paper, so I thought I would do a quick comparison before I left for the workshop last week, and I compared a mixed media paper which I purchased for her workshop. This is made by Grumbacher, and I compared this paper to my sketchbook that I usually use, which is an Arteza sketchbook. They're both 9 by 12 inches, and this book has 64 pages of watercolor paper. So I'm going to show you the comparison between the two, and so that you can make sort of an informed decision, maybe try a paper you haven't tried before. So that was an interesting experiment, and I will show you a little bit about some of the things that we did together in Betty's workshop. It was a wonderful experience. And then coming up in my tools section today, I want to show you something that you might not be aware of that you actually have right on your cell phone. And that is the opportunity to see your work placed in the context of a room. There are apps for that where you can see your painting hanging in a pretend frame, maybe a pretend mat and frame, in a variety of rooms. And there are a couple of apps where you can do that, actually try it out for free. So I'll be talking about that a little bit later in my tools section, so I hope you stay with me. Now, I do want to ask you, if you would please, my channel doesn't get very much attention yet because my information is not getting out there. And I'm going to ask you, if you would please, do some things that will help me so that YouTube actually shares my videos with other users. This will help me if you click the like button, if you comment on anything that you see, even bad comments, you know, criticism actually gets my my YouTube channel some attention, and if YouTube sees that people respond to my videos, they will promote it and share it with other people. So, and do hit subscribe if you feel that this has much to offer you. But thank you for being here. I look forward to showing you the difference between those papers and a little glimpse of Betty's workshop. And eventually here, I'm going to show you a tool that's right on your phone that I think will maybe be a surprise to you, and it's a lot of fun to use. So here you can see I have my Arteza sketchbook on the left with 120-pound watercolor paper, and on the right I have a sheet of the mixed media paper. Now that mixed media paper says, the cover says that it's 98-pound paper, so it's not nearly as heavy as that nice Arteza book that I've been using for some years. I've filled many of those sketchbooks. I apologize for the shadows. It's kind of a cloudy, sunny day. I have squirted out some Nova paints after energizing my paper with some mark making, some scribbles. I'm just playing. I just want to see how my paints work side by side on these papers so I can make a decision about what I want to take to this workshop. This is a little rubber tool I'm using to move paint around. I'm obviously not making a painting. I'm just seeing how these papers work. So I've got some dark green fluid acrylic. The Nova paints are sort of a cross between fluid and more heavy body. Now I'm going in with a brush and quite a bit of water on my brush to move that paint around with water. And I'm learning that this mixed media paper on the right is slick. It reminds me of Bristol paper or a hot press watercolor paper. But in this case, the mixed media on the left, the watercolor paper has different properties. It's a little bit rough, and on the right it's very, very smooth. And the mixed media paper feels like the paint and the water stay right on top of the paper. It's pretty slick. And on the left there is a feeling of some of the paint sinking in a little bit more. So you'll see on the right where the lighter color of green, I've used enough water that the paint and the water are kind of mingling right on top of the paper, and I don't have that happening on the left with the watercolor paper. And I do like the idea of water mingling right on top of the paper. I come from a watercolor painting background, so it's a mark that I really like, that juiciness that you get with wet into wet. Now I'm using my palette knife, scratching in, trying to create some marks with the edges of the palette knife. This is a tool that I really like to use when I'm doing non-objective painting. I like to drag my palette knife, not only the edge of it like I'm doing right here on the watercolor paper, but I also like to dig a corner into it and abrade the paper. Okay, so right now I'm cleaning up some of that paint got on the next page. I wanted to clean that off. And obviously the paint and water was not so wet that I couldn't lift that page up like that on the left, and it didn't move very much. If I lifted the paper on the right, most likely that paper would, because it's so slick, it would drip all over the place. Here I'm abrading the paper. I'm scratching back into the paint so I get some interesting marks with the corner of that palette knife. And I'm dragging some paint around. And on the right I'm trying that. The mixed media paper doesn't really abrade as well as the watercolor paper, yet I really like it. Even though it's lightweight, it doesn't buckle. It's probably cellulose. I'm not sure what the material is, but it's certainly not cotton like you will find in good watercolor paper. But for this purpose, I'm kind of liking it. I like the lack of texture, of roughness. You know, I love, in some cases, I love to use rough paper when I'm working in watercolors. You can use dry brush and depict, for instance, the sparkle on top of a body of water by dragging the dry brush across it. But in this case, I'm not doing that, and the longer I work on the mixed media paper, much to my surprise, the more I like it. So it has its place, let me put it that way. It really depends on what kind of painting I'll be doing. But it's fun to explore something new like this. So again, I'm using my palette knife, I'm moving paint around, kind of drawing with the corner of my palette knife. Once I made those sheets of paper, playing with those two papers, I indeed even took them and continued to paint on those in the Betty Frank's workshop. So here's Betty in New Braunfels, and I'm going to walk around the room of the workshop. This is day 3, where everyone was working on easels. In case you haven't seen a workshop of this type, everyone works independently, and we've had a couple of days worth of wonderful lessons. So now we are on our own. And here in New Braunfels, we have a lovely large space. Everybody has their own easel. It's kind of fun to see that everyone has their own style. I'm letting you take a look the whole way around the room. This is where people could pick up their paints. Nova Color supplied the paints for us at this particular workshop. It's such a lovely thing to do, to get together with people and paint. Now, believe it or not, this is one of those green samples of paper that I tried before I went to the workshop, and it's evolved this far as an abstract. And here I'm walking you along one of my concertinas that I created. This is the front side, very abstracted concertina. And this is the other side, very floral, abstract on paper. It's a concertina that folds up into a little booklet. And I don't know that it's finished, but here are a couple more paintings that are in process of mine. I painted these side by side toward the end of the workshop. So this is 2 different canvases, 16 by 20. I will continue to work on them now that I have them home. And now I'd like to just walk around one more time and show you some of the beautiful work that my new friends from the workshop created. I made new friends, as one does when you go to a class or a workshop, whether virtual or in person. You benefit so greatly from being around like-minded individuals who love the same things you love. Now, have you ever wondered how people manage to hang their paintings in these beautiful settings like living rooms and office spaces that have just the most beautiful flower arrangements next to the paintings, and they're just hanging on a beautiful wall, and every painting in somebody's online show is hanging in a different beautiful room. How does that happen? How do they do that? Well, I'm about to show you. Here's an example of what I'm talking about, and then I'm going to show you how I do it. So here's a nice couple of environments. I love this orange wall, but this is the same painting in an outside setting. Here's a flower painting that is nice, and I love the way that I could put two paintings side by side with this app. So I'm going to show you now how I did it. Do you know that the word app means application, and it's been shortened to app? On my phone, I have a couple of apps that I want to look at today. One is called Art Rooms, and this is what the logo looks like. And the other one is called Smartest. Smartest. And this is what that app looks like. I'm only going to show you really the ins and outs of Smartest today, but they both work very similarly, and there are other apps as well that work this same way. Now each app has just a handful of rooms that are available to people who don't subscribe to these apps. I can't remember how much I paid to use this annually, but it's very affordable. I used it so much, I used several of them so much that I ended up subscribing to one of them so that I would have lots and lots of options. I'm going to show you down here where it says interiors. I'm jumping ahead of myself here, but there are lots and lots of options of rooms that I can choose from to put my paintings on the wall of those rooms. I just want to show you many options of rooms that I could put a painting in. So that's just a little piece of information before we get started. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of what the application looks like when I open it. And it's offering me this room to put a painting in. And the way that I do that, I hit a plus sign down here, and I want to upload a rectangular painting. And I will choose a painting here just as an example. This painting actually isn't finished yet. It's one that I started in the workshop I went to last week. But this gives you an idea of some things that you can do with this app. So I took a picture of this painting and it was on an easel. So I've got some easel showing in the bottom here, and I want to crop that. Well, this app lets me do some cropping. So that's nice to know. I'm going to crop a little bit on the side here. You can even crop one corner at a time. So if you, like me, take a picture where you didn't have your phone or your camera lined up just right, you can fix that in this app. So there we have it. I'm ready to go to next. Now I can adjust the artwork's colors. Now, Apple products, whether it's a Macintosh computer or a mobile device, a phone, they are pretty true to the colors of the screen. So what I could do is put the painting beside the screen and make sure that all of the colors on my screen are as close as possible to the actual painting. And if they aren't, I can change the exposure, I can change the contrast. If I feel like it's not warm enough or too warm, I can move this back and forth. I'm not going to show you each and every one of these. If you use this app, you'll want to go in here and try to make the photo of your painting as close to the painting itself as possible. Then you can click Next. You don't have to fill all of this in. you can put the title, you can describe it here, you can put the dimensions, height, width, depth, you can change inches to centimeters if you want. Here's where you could put a price in, the year that you painted it. There are a lot of pieces of information that you can fill in here. If it's something that you're going to upload to, say, YouTube or something that would have search engine optimization, so if it's looking for some of your tags, or tags are adjectives to describe it, you might want to fill some of these things in. But the thing that you do want to fill in here is the height and the width, because this is how this software knows how to place it in a room, how to place your painting in a room. So in this case, I know that this painting is 20 inches tall and it's 16 inches wide. And it's 1 inch deep. It's just a relatively practice canvas, I would say. So I'm going to click next, done. Okay, so here is my painting in that default room. And it's nice, it's not bad. I can move the painting up or down or side to side. But this is what a 20-inch painting, 20-inch tall painting would look like in this room. Now, some things that I can do to enhance this is to put an imaginary frame on it. Maybe I want to export this just as it is, so I would click Export, and this would give me the option to save this just like this. So now I have one photo of this painting. So that's saved. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to put a frame on it. And there are lots of frames here. Lots and lots of frames. I generally use a simple frame. In fact, I like a floater frame. So the option here is float. And here's a white floater frame, which is something that I use quite often around my paintings. I like a white floater frame. And this slider right down here gives me an opportunity to tell it how much space is going to be between the canvas and the frame. In this case, it says 0.2 inches. I think my floater frames are a little bit bigger than that. So I'm going to say 0.3 inches. And the frame size, I can click on frame size, and I believe my frame size in the front is 1/2 inch. So that is what it looks like in this setting. However, I don't want this frame in this setting. I already have this setting saved, so I would like to go to a different interior setting, and I'm going to browse. Okay. I'm not crazy about whatever this thing is that's sitting on this desk, so I'm going to keep going. Perhaps this one. Oh, now that's nice. So I will export this painting and save it. And now I'm going to go back and I'll pick something a little bit different from what I've picked so far. Oh, that's nice. I think I'd like to move it over just a little bit. I don't know. Not really crazy about this flower arrangement. Let's try another one. Don't like that? No? No, I really don't like this because this looks like the painting is lost on that fireplace wall. It's way too small for a large wall like that. Let's see here. Okay, so here's an example where I can show you something that you can do. I can bring this down. I can zoom in like that just by pinching like this. And if I get something that I really like, I can take a screenshot of it. And a screenshot, I push this button on my phone and this button on my phone both at the same time. Now I have a screenshot and I can crop it myself. And you can do this with the free versions of these apps. You can do a screenshot and then save it to your phone. Save it to photos. So I'm going to show you in my photos what I have here. I have this setting. I have this setting. That's nice. I think that's really nice. And I have this setting. So there you have it. Easy peasy. You can go in. You won't have as many options for rooms as I had because I have subscribed to this app, but you will have a few to play with and see if it's something that you feel you would that you would enjoy having, and you can decide for yourself whether you would want to purchase more options. Well, I hope that was helpful. It's fun to have your paintings in a beautiful room or a few beautiful rooms, and when you show your paintings on social media or put them on your website, it's nice to show a close-up of your painting and then show it in a couple of rooms. So I do thank you for joining me. I hope to hear from you once in a while. I take requests if you'd like me to do anything in particular in these videos. I've got lots and lots of ideas, and I will be doing more painting in weeks to come. So I hope you will click and like this video so that YouTube shares it with more people. Please feel free to share it yourself if you'd like, if you know some people who would benefit from it. And again, thank you for joining me.